Hey guys, Andrew McFarlane here, and I hope you guys are doing amazing. Today we are talking about the interior design of your juice bar. I'm really excited for this conversation because I'm sure you guys can imagine that the visual presentation and the experience of how your juice bar is presented is so important to your business's success, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. But before we get started, if you guys have been liking the content we've been putting out, you can press the like button below. Always appreciate hearing that you guys appreciate the content as well. If you're not subscribed to the channel, I encourage you and invite you to subscribe. And if you aren't getting the notifications, there's a notification bell up top. You can press that so that you'll get alerted when we put out new videos. So diving in. Now, what I will first start by saying is that creativity is so subjective. And so I'm going to talk about philosophically what some of the implications of the decisions that you'll make will be on your business, and so that you can consider whether or not they feel right for you, and then also some of the functional elements. We're not going to go extremely deep into the functional design. For that, there's a whole lesson in our online course. You can click the link below if you want to learn more about that. We go through everything in terms of where you should lay out your equipment and how and what you want to be thinking about, what the implications are of putting things in certain places. But today I want to talk about more of the aesthetic, the visual presentation of your business, and some minor functional elements. So first and foremost, I highly encourage you guys to spend a great amount of time thinking about the visual presentation of your business, because if you put yourself in the state of a consumer, we're all consumers as much as we are entrepreneurs. You and I both know that you've walked by a business before, even if they were appealing to you from a value standpoint, meaning maybe you're someone who's vegetarian or you're vegan or you drink juice, and you've seen that that business serves vegan food, vegetarian food, and juice, but because of the way that they've presented themselves, something about it hasn't really allowed you to trust them, and so you feel uncomfortable, and so you don't go inside of that business. I'm sure you've had this experience. I've had this experience many, many times. And so realize, as much as they say, don't judge a book by its cover, know that when it comes to consumers choosing where they're going to eat, they are judging a book by its cover. They are projecting that the value of the product that you create is reflected in how aesthetically consistent and high quality your business is being presented. So this is one of those areas that I really think it's hard to overlook the value of. And so moving right along, we're going to talk about some of the specific elements, looking at flooring, fixtures, countertops, chairs, so on and so forth. But before we do that, I want to talk about really just being aware of when you're designing your space, starting with your brand and your brand values, your brand mission. This is something that we walk our clients through all the time. We really go through and say, okay, what are the adjectives that you identify with as your business? Is cleanliness one of your values? Is things feeling really organic? Is community one of your values? Okay, so how do you design your space so people have the feeling of these elements when they walk into your business? And so let's say, for example, one of your values is cleanliness. There's different ways to design a place to make it feel more clean. Obviously, the color white and things being white, kind of like a hospital. And I don't mean hospital in the sense that it's so clean that it feels like you're uncomfortable, but just making the place feel open and clean through white surfaces and things like this can support that. If it's community, you can create communal tables. You can have community boards on the wall. This is part of the design, but also the customer experience that you're creating. And so these two things go hand in hand. You can't separate one from the other. So let's move into some specific elements, talking about for example, beginning with your light fixtures. Okay, we have some images here that we're looking at. You can decide that you want to go more industrial with your vision if you decide, right? Or you can go a little bit more softer lighting, contemporary, right? Maybe a little bit more high fashion, we can say. The choice is up to you. There is no right or wrong answer, but the point is that when you're going through the design process, if you haven't hired an interior designer, and even if you have, you're making sure that all of these elements are going well with one another, right? That they're well thought out, and it's not something that you're thinking about after the fact, because obviously if you have to make a decision and you're rushed, then it's a lot harder than if you have time to think about it beforehand. Designing the interior of your space can happen before you even have your space, right? Before you even sign your lease. You can do it afterwards as well, but it's something that you have the freedom and time to think about. It's always a lot easier to do. And so something that I want to talk about with your lighting fixtures as it relates to the ceiling of your space as well, because these two things are connected, obviously you're looking upwards, is what kind of ceiling do you want to have? Now, a lot of clients, for many reasons, one, because it's kind of in vogue, but also because it saves money, decide to go with industrial ceilings, meaning that they might have exposed air ducts, they might have exposed electrical wires, not that the wires are actually exposed, but the pipes that they're inside of, certain plumbing things can be exposed. This look is really interesting, and also it saves you money because you don't actually have to put a drop-down ceiling underneath it. The one thing that you want to be aware of, and I would recommend, is make sure to paint these elements the same color as your ceiling if you are going in that direction, so that it still looks well thought out. Keeping these things exposed in their original color might look a little bit too rough, and so just consider that when you're putting the ceiling together. Same thing too, let's talk about, because we're kind of on this industrial fashion conversation, realize that you cannot do this in a kitchen. From a functional standpoint, whenever you have a kitchen or anywhere that food is being prepared, behind a bar or anywhere else, the surfaces have to be washable. So you can't have an exposed ceiling over a kitchen where you're prepping food. It's just, in most places, 90% of the world, this is a health code violation. So just be aware that you can have different ceilings in your customer and retail space than you actually have in your production space, in your kitchen, and so on. But alternatively, when we're talking about, let's say, something like floors, you can get away with having industrial floors in a retail space as well as a kitchen. And when I say industrial floors, I mean concrete that may have been sanded down and then epoxied over, meaning you have a smooth surface that's allows you to wash that floor more easily. The benefit of doing this is obviously it's more durable. It's also generally a lot more inexpensive when you take this approach from a financial standpoint. And then aesthetically, it can look kind of interesting for people. It's not the warmest presentation. Obviously, if you did something like wood in a retail space, it's a little bit warmer, but that can be more expensive. And obviously, in terms of the shelf life, you have to think about what the long-term financial implications are to whatever decision you make, as well as the creative and presentation that it's going to be creating for your clientele. And so for this reason, you might decide that you want to have a wood look, but you might do it with tile, because I've seen tiles that have wood patterns in them. Or you might do it with vinyl or something like this. But generally, wood and vinyl inside of a retail juice bar, there's still a lot of water, things get wet, people spill things. It can be expensive to maintain, so just be aware of that. And so moving along, looking at things like your creative design. So what's on your walls, right? I always think, and part of our approach when we're designing interiors of spaces is asking myself, what can customers see from the outside? When they look into our space, what do I want them to see? So do I place the menu board in a way that we can have a light on it in the evening, and so if we're closed and people are walking by, they can still look inside and see what's on our menu? Do we have some visual art piece that's really captivating so that when people drive by, they can see it, that's well lit, and it makes them think, wow, what's inside that store? I want to go in there. It feels good as well. It's part of the brand and part of the overall experience that you want them to have. These are all things that you want to think about when it comes to creative design. I talked about this in other videos. Selfie walls, walls where people can take pictures of themselves. It also has your business name or your Instagram, Facebook @ symbol, so people can find you online when they're taking pictures of themselves and sharing it with their friends. It's free marketing for your business. So these are all things that you want to think about creatively. If you need help with these things, we have a full design team as well. We can help you with your creative design visually, menu board, and otherwise. And so moving along from that aspect, let's start looking at your seating, for example. Now, you may know that certain fast food businesses create seats that are intentionally uncomfortable for their customers because they want the turnover to be really, really quick. Now, you might want to have, once again, a community space. And so how comfortable are your chairs, right? What materials are they made out of? Is it going to be something that lasts for a long time? And then visually, does it represent your business? If you're going with more of an industrial feeling, you can overlay that with comfortable chairs. You can also go with stainless steel and iron chairs, things of this nature. Once again, like I said, there's no right or wrong answer, but it's a matter of you thinking these things out and placing it visually in your mind. This is something that a lot of times we'll recommend that our client does in a first phase before we talk them through it, is to put together a Pinterest board. If you guys aren't familiar with Pinterest, it's a website that has all these visual elements. A lot of times people are using that to visualize their internal presentation, whether it's for a home or for a business, and you can find specific elements like chairs, lighting fixtures that are really beautiful that you can then use and then search online and see where you can purchase those exact fixtures or things like them for your business. And so when it comes to these little details, like your seats are using stools that have a back on them, and why are you doing that? Is it the kind of look that you want? Is it the experience you want your customers to have as well? Beyond that, looking at countertops. Now, if you want your business to feel luxurious, you could use things like marble, right? If you want your business to feel a little bit more crafty, you could use particle board wood, for example, and then once again epoxy over that. That's going to be a lot cheaper than marble. It's going to give your business a more of a rustic feel as well. And so go through that, look at all the variations of countertops that you can create for your business and make sure it all is matching together. Get creative with that as well, because one thing about the visual presentation, which is connected to your brand and everything else, is you want to create a visual experience and an actual tactile human experience that is unique, right? Part of your visual presentation should have things that people want to take photos of, that want to tell their friends about. So really think about it so that it's not something that's the last on your list and you're doing it in a rush, like I said before, and you can really make sure that it's something that people, when they see something, they go, wow, that's really interesting. Right? That's unique. I've never seen that anywhere. It starts to allow people to superimpose this level of creativity into your business, which should be the case. And they'll value your business that much more. And if, as they value your business more, they trust you more and they'll invest more money in your product. So moving on, let's talk about interactive elements in your business. Right. This is somewhat connected to the interior design, and it can be. For example, we're all familiar with the company McDonald's. They put a playground inside of their business, right? When you really think about it, it doesn't make sense that a hamburger business has a playground inside of it. But when you understand that their target demographic are children, which is why their mascot, we can say, is a clown, and they give toys away and all of these things, then it makes perfect sense. And so for your business, you have to ask yourself, what are the interactive elements, either visually? Is this a community board that we've created because we want our people to feel connected to one another in this way? Are there certain games that we have? Are there games that are on the wall? At one point in our business, we were thinking about actually taking shots of people's faces after they took the wellness shot, because everyone the reactions were so big. And then just for our customers to be able to see themselves on the wall with these really, really crazy reactions, having a wall mural of all these different people's faces. And that's just one visual idea that could be part of your brand mission and experience for your customers. So just think about this. You could also do things like have garden walls inside of your space, right? To emphasize the organic nature of your product, your business, and people will feel the freshness when they walk in. You can do things with fruits, real fruits that people can either purchase, right? Sort of like maybe a mini grocery store, or just visually having this experience with fruits. And so there's a full spectrum of things that can be done. You have to think about it creatively. Think about the interactive elements of your business visually and experientially. Okay, so overall, if I was to give you a general philosophy of what I want you guys to take away from this video, it's that you should be thinking about the interior design of your business. Everything from your countertops to your floors, to the ceiling, to the light fixtures, to the wall murals, and so on. How is everything connected to one another? the materials you're using. How does it make people feel? Is it what you want them to feel? And so start from your brand mission, your intention, and then work your way into how that's actually relating to the experience of your space overall. Now, there's never a right and wrong answer, but you have to consider for your business what aligns for you and also what's going to make functional and financial sense for you in the short term and long term. And the longer you have to think about these things, the more you can keep evolving them and make more educated and cohesive decisions overall. So I hope this helps. If you guys do need support with your interior design, reach out to us. We have a team of interior designers as well that can help you with this part of your business. You can reach me personally at Andrew@StartAJuiceBar.com. We'd be happy to have this conversation with you. And if you're not subscribed to the channel and you want to subscribe, you should do that. If you aren't following us on Instagram, we're putting out content daily. You can follow us there at StartAJuiceBar. And then if you want to check out the Juice Bar Experts podcast on iTunes, just go to iTunes and search for Juice Bar Experts. And we also have all of our podcasts on our website as well. So wishing you guys a lot of happiness, a lot of success. This is Andrew McFarlane with StartAJuiceBar.com. And I'll see you guys soon.